This session in Meet the Pros, we're going to be talking about recruiting in the current economy, and we're talking about recruitment alternatives. So joining me on the call today, I've got Damien Elsing. Welcome to the call, Damien.
Thanks, David. Good to be here.
We've been obviously the great resignation has been top of mind for a lot of people in recruitment. The fact of the matter is, it's really hard to get people to apply for jobs these days. People are demanding more money. Seek has almost become like flooded with ads. I know, like we were looking at placing an ad for a client for marketing manager, and they said there's 1,700 ads at the moment for marketing manager. So everyone seems to be going down that sort of path of using Seek. Today we were going to touch on this idea of alternatives for recruiting. And I know that you've had some insight and success in this. Do you want to share a bit about maybe, first of all, who you are, and then second of all, what you think people should be doing to recruit?
Sure, David. So my background is digital marketing. We're a digital marketing agency. So traditionally, obviously, done online marketing and ads for companies. And then first discovered this about a year ago. I was hiring for our own team. I was hiring an ops manager.
Yeah.
And I saw Seek as being too expensive. I didn't see good value there. And I thought, I'm just going to do it myself and see what these LinkedIn job postings are like. So I posted the job. I went through a few of the steps on LinkedIn, and I put a bit of money behind it because you can sponsor it. And within a few days, I had about 100 applications, and I ended up hiring someone who was really high caliber for the role. They'd worked at Yahoo and Fairfax and had, kind of overqualified in a lot of ways. But I was really happy with the results, and I thought, well, this is pretty standard. And then we work a lot with people in trades and construction and things like that. So a couple of them said, we want to, we're trying to recruit a carpenter or, whatever the role might be, a cabinet maker. So we did a very similar thing on Facebook. So it's basically what we tried was just leveraging social platforms where you might run ads to get reach for your marketing, but using that from a recruitment perspective to attract talent to your business. Instead of trying to attract leads, you're attracting applicants for a particular role.
So it's fascinating because it sort of occurred to me a few years back that when we talk about marketing in a business, it's all about attracting new clients or attracting prospects. And when we go out recruiting, we're attracting candidates. So the mechanism is the same. The only difference is the way the money flows. So for one, we're paying them, and the other one, they're paying us. But in reality, we're still trying to attract people to our organisation that resonate with who we are. So you've just described this idea of, rather than going through the standard recruiting channels like Seek, we're now starting to use social channels. How do you do that?
Well, it depends on what platform you're using. But if we look at LinkedIn as an example, because probably most people watching this are interested in LinkedIn, you would choose the channel based on where your audience lives. So LinkedIn for professional services and things like that. If it's more trades and members of the public, you could use Facebook. So they're the two biggest platforms that we'd be looking at. And it's quite simple. Both these platforms have the mechanism where you can post a job, especially LinkedIn. So you can just go through the steps and take even if you've got the job on Seek already, you can copy and paste it over to a LinkedIn job, and then you'll get prompts to sponsor the post. You can choose how long you want the ad to run for, how much you want to spend on it, and the applications come through to you. And so it's direct hiring. So they'll show your job listing to people who are suitable and relevant and have those skills.
Yeah.
But you get to vet them and choose them, and it's quite cost effective. It's probably a similar or cheaper cost than listing on something like Seek.
Okay, so you are using the recruitment channel of LinkedIn, and so it's a recruitment ad. Would you also consider just posting ads that are not recruitment ads to actually get people to apply, or is that not?
Yeah, you can do that. And in fact, on Facebook, they've stopped they're only using the jobs feature in North America. So if you're in Australia or other countries, you'll actually, if you want to do this on Facebook, you would actually just do it as you might do a traditional post on your page. So you can actually make a update describing the job and the listing, and then you can boost the post. Facebook has that big button that says boost post. That's the sort of very quick option. If you want to do it in a more sophisticated way, you can go into the Facebook Ads Manager and actually have a bit more control over who you're targeting. So it just gives you a lot of possibilities in geographic region. You want to show it to a certain demographic in that area, and people can apply however you want them to.
So let me ask you this. Am I writing the ads the same way as I traditionally would, or am I changing my style of writing because I'm now going into social channels?
It's a good question. So I've been looking at a few job ads for the last few days, just from clients of ours who are interested in trying this out. But some of, I think there's just a good way to write a job ad, and I think whatever platform you're doing it on, it doesn't really matter. So
Yeah.
sometimes you'll look at a job ad and it's sort of like a big wall of text, and it's just classic. Whether you're writing a blog post or a job ad, there's certain best practices that you would stick to. It's just having the fundamentals there. What are your company values? What does the role include? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
And structuring it in a sort of readable and scannable format. So I'd say I think all job ads should be that way. But yes, especially so if you're going to put money behind it on social media, you want it to be easy to scan and understand and engaging.
Look, there's another component to this, because when I place an ad on Seek, or even on LinkedIn, if I do it in the roles position, it's targeting people who are looking for work in the main, right? And then when I boost that ad, it now goes to people who are not looking for work. Now, in my mind, if I'm not looking for work, putting a job ad in front of me may not be effective, because it's actually selling me something that I'm not looking for. So this whole idea of hiring on purpose, right, which is literally saying, don't worry about writing the job ad, start worrying about selling the company. So you're almost leading by saying, we're not looking for a salesperson. We're leading by saying we're a company that helps people X, Y, Z, blah, 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 what we do, and we're growing. And we have vacancies within our organisation, and even without specifying the job title, you're selling the vision of the company. What's your thoughts on that?
Totally agree. And I found this when we listed this position last year that I was talking about earlier. Even though the main goal was to find applicants, I had heaps of people just following the company page and getting in touch about other things. So it becomes a branding exercise.
Yeah, right.
And the two things are working at the same time. So even if you're running branding ads, that helps your recruitment, and these kind of recruitment ads definitely build your brand as well.
Yeah. And this is probably the secret sauce of all of this, is that when I do post this kind of advertising on my social channel, I'm not looking for people directly. I'm looking for people who know people as well. So there's an element of, if I say I'm looking for a salesperson, if I'm not a salesperson, I look and go, well, I'm not one of those. But if I say this is my company and this is what we do and we're building our team, we're looking for people who are interested in the same thing. And it's this whole notion of recruiting on attitude and not skill. Because I feel too many people are still advertising the traditional, almost the industrial age way, saying, hey, we're looking for a salesperson with 15 years of experience and has skills in this and no. And it's basically I reply to that with my resume. But it doesn't tell me anything about the person and their attitude towards either what we believe is our cause or to our organisation. And so they're applying the wrong way. So what are the elements that you think are non-negotiable when we're doing this kind of advertising?
I think you've touched on a good point there around also with the hybrid model now. A lot of employees realise, well, I don't need to be in an office. Why should I trudge through peak hour traffic and go and sit in an office all day when I can be just as productive from my home office? So I think making those kind of things clear, don't be vague about, if it's important to your culture that the person's in the office, be upfront about that. If it's not necessary, then make that clear as well. So say whether it's remote. And just jumping back a minute, David, I think you said, you're going to show your ad to people who aren't actively looking, but that can actually be a good thing, because if you think about who's out of a job right now and looking actively, might be a pretty small percentage, but there's going to be maybe 5 or 10 times that they're in a job, they're not on Seek looking around, but they would be open to a change. And if they see the right message coming up, the possibilities sort of open up in their mind. Even though they're not actively looking, you might be able to attract them proactively.
Yeah, and that word attract is the key element that I think about. Is I can place my ad in front of people, but I'm not going to attract them to my organisation unless they're ready to look for a job. But if all I talk about is our purpose of our organisation, and I say this is what we do in our business, we become attractive. Now, I know this works because the large organisations like Google and Apple and Microsoft have been doing it for years, right? They never really have to advertise jobs because they've got almost like a database of people who are waiting to get a job there, and they'll take any job because they want to work for those organisations. Is that a feasible thing for a small business to be doing as well?
Well, yeah, and I think it comes back to what we were saying before around the marketing. If you're doing strong marketing and you're building a brand out there, people have already seen they're already familiar with your brand just from your overall marketing.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on how strong that brand is in your local community, how much of a presence it has. But and another thing I see a lot is companies don't really have like that sort of careers. Even larger companies, they don't sort of have a careers page. They might have 4 or 5 jobs listed on Seek at any given time.
Yeah.
If you go to their website, you can't actually find anything about the careers. So I think factoring it into your, not just using it as an external process, but making it part of your website. And we do that on our website, even though we're a tiny business in the scheme of things.
Yeah.
We've got a page and it says, we don't have any active roles right now, but fill in this form, upload your resume, and when something comes up, we'll get in touch.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I'll often ask this question, and it's a loaded question about when's the best time to be recruiting, and it's loaded because most people will say the best time to recruit is when you're quiet, okay, because you've got the time to look, you've got the time to train, and so you can make sure that person gets a good start. But the downside of that is affordability. So in a small organisation, when you're quiet, there's not enough cash flow. So then people usually go the other way and they go, well, when I've built my business up and when I can afford to get someone, then I'll recruit. But then they have the other dilemma, which is they might have the cash, but they don't have the time. So they end up recruiting poorly because they go, I'm just so busy, I just need anybody who can help me. And I think the conclusion I came to is the best time to be recruiting is when the right person is sitting across the table from you, regardless of how quiet or how busy you are. And that's a bit of a scary thought for a lot of people because they're saying, well, how does that work? Well, the first thing you need to do is be clear on what the right kind of person is. And I think when we talk about this branding style campaign, I'm going to employ someone on attitude versus skill every day of the week. And I know for a fact, and I've said this before, if the right person came into the front door of my office today, knocked on the door and said, David, I want to work for you. I don't want you to pay me. I just want to prove myself. And even if I didn't have enough seats in the office, I'd get out of my own chair. If I believed that person had the skill, had the right attitude and had the right ability, I'd give them a go. Now, it doesn't happen often, but what I'm getting at is that most people don't recruit not because they can't afford it, it's because they aren't inspired by the people they're recruiting. So this idea of constantly being in recruitment mode, always, literally from the day you open the doors of your business, you should be, even before that, you should be in recruitment mode. Well, how does that look? Well, that would mean having this sort of branding campaign running all the time, being very mindful about the message that's going out to the marketplace and being receptive, as you just described, having a careers page on your website that doesn't have any particular jobs, but at least has an application process. Because the smart money, and I know McDonald's do this now, is that kids apply for jobs online and they knock on the door saying, hey, I'm looking for work. They go online, put your name on the list. When we have a job, we hit the send button and you'll be told. So it's almost like another database in our CRM, which is potential future employees. Yeah. And so what are your thoughts around that one?
Yeah, I think that's true, and especially what you're saying about the culture being, the attitude being way more important than the skills, because I know from a marketing perspective, content is really big now. So when we're trying to hire someone who's good at creating content, it's not necessarily someone who's worked as a writer. It can be easier to take someone who's got a good attitude, who's already a good writer and others good communication skills, and train them about the marketing. The marketing stuff is fairly straightforward. It's the actual ability to communicate. So I think a lot of people do put the cart before the horse and they say, we want this list of skills. But often I think they call them soft skills and things like that in recruiting. So, getting those soft skills where they've got good attitude, good things that can't be changed, and you can always add those skills on later. Like you mentioned sales, for example. Sales is a pretty straightforward process, but if you've got the temperament and you're resilient and those sort of things, that can be a lot more important.
Yeah, fantastic. So this notion of recruit on attitude, not skills, is part of this strategy. I think the second part is being accessible, so having avenues where people can actually apply, even though there may not be any jobs right now. I think there's a third piece to this puzzle that's missing, and when it's easy to recruit on skills because I can look at a resume and I can check your references and I can see what you've done. When it comes to attitude, it's a really hard thing to measure. Right? It's a really hard thing to see off a resume, even off a conversation. Most people don't know how to assess attitude. I've learned one thing, right? Assessing attitude, the easiest way to do it is to ask someone to do something and observe how they do it. So maybe the next piece of the puzzle is to say, well, if you're interested in joining us in the future, tell us why. So in your application, even though there's no job, sell yourself to the organisation. Tell us what resonated with you and what you're doing in your life to resonate with that. I know, for example, the Body Shop, when they used to do recruitment many years ago, I remember that you couldn't apply for a job unless you're already part of a green a cause, right? And that was part of it. So I think not just do we have to go out to the market with brand, I think using the channels, the social channels in the alternative way that we've talked about is key. And just saying, don't advertise the job, advertise the organisation, and ask people who are watching if they know someone who would want to join this organisation. Would open up that funnel a lot. So let's talk about practicality on this. How's it look? So what would you suggest people do? What are the steps?
Well, first of all, obviously figure out what the role is going to entail. Pretty standard job description. And then, as I said, format it in a way, so write it out. You can find all sorts of templates online. So I'd sort of find companies who are maybe leaders in your industry, see how they've done their job listings in the past.
Yeah.
Use a similar structure. There's a right way and a wrong way to basically do job listings. And then wherever you're going to post it, whether it's Seek or on these social channels that we're talking about, these alternatives, get it up there on the platform. Like we talked about on LinkedIn, you can just post it for free. You don't have to pay money to post a job on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And if you want to sponsor it, you can. And then same with Facebook. It's basically create a post on your regular company page and then use the boosted post or Facebook ad options to get it in front of the right people.
Yeah, fantastic. Look, if people need help with this, can they? How do they? Are you able to help them with this kind of strategy?
We've been helping a few of our clients with it. We actually did an email promotion about it this week and had a huge response. I'm actually thinking of putting together a bit of maybe some kind of free training. But the challenge with LinkedIn is that you can't get someone else outside of your company to go and do it. Somebody's LinkedIn profile has to be connected with the job listing. Right. But look, I'm happy to chat with anyone and help them, give them any insights and show them what's been working for our clients if they're keen.
Fantastic. And the best way for people to reach out to you?
Probably just visit our website, which is clck.com.au, or you can just email me, damien@clck.com.au.
Yeah, well, we can probably track you back through these social channels as well. Look, Damien, it's been awesome just having this conversation. For me, I was excited because I know that people are struggling with standard advertising. I know people are coming to me saying there's no one looking for work. The truth of the matter is that in a tough market, it's the person who's most proactive in their marketing and has the sizzle that gets people to want to come. So it's about attracting those high caliber people. So this might give people a couple of tools to do that. So thanks for your time.
Pleasure, David. Thanks for having me.
All right, awesome. Enjoy your day. Cheers.
Thanks.